All right, cool. We are all set. So first, we're gonna start with a bit of a conversation with Tuxen, and I'll let my brother State OFF take it from here.
Cool. Thank you very much, Meedy. Hey, everyone. My name is State OFF. I am a GOM producer and DJ based out of Amsterdam. I'll be facilitating this session, and I think it'll be good to just start with some context setting around designing your own musical identity. I think for a lot of music genres coming out of Southern Africa, a lot of the influences can be identified by tracing back a lot of like music catalogs by iconic artists from the past 10, 20 years. But very rarely is a genre traceable to a single person, and I think that's really a testament to someone venturing really out and carving their own path and creating a new sound and really sticking to that and being consistent with it. And I think that's the perfect reason why Tuxen is the artist chosen for this panel. And the genre we'll be talking about is three-step, which is I would say it's a variant of Afro House or like Afro Tech. It's very much its own thing, but I feel like it's the future of electronic music. I've been saying that a lot every time I get tipsy. And today we'll get to dive a little deeper into Tuxen's production process, understand his influences, and also I guess get to know more of him as an artist and what influenced him to carve out this path that has, of course, worked very well for him. I will do a brief intro for the artist as well right now. So, born in 1993, Tuxen was born to a musical family and is self-taught and has become, I would say, pretty much iconic within electronic music in Africa. He started DJing in 2009 and moved on to music production in 2011. And I think suffice it to say that shift was seismic. My favorites from his catalog include his breakthrough banger, Magnificent Dance from 2022. And my recent favorite is his dance floor dominating Scorcher, which is his remix of Horns in the Sun. I've got that like on a loop. And I'm really excited to have him here for this session today. Welcome, Tuxen.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you.
I need to quickly look at my notes. I practiced this whole bit. 1 sec. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is speak about how you first discovered this fusion of different South African genres that led to the creation of this subgenre, which is three-step. I'm really curious as to what was the inspiration behind this unique blend. For people in the audience, typically, genres coming out of South Africa, like later genres, you can really identify, where the influences have come from, like the samples, like GOM, for example, is very sample heavy. You can really understand where a lot of the drums and everything come from, but three-step really feels like its own thing. So I'm really curious as to how you found that signature for yourself.
Hi, everyone. I think they always say there's nothing new under the sun, right? Everything is, we have 8 notes. Is it 8? Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do.
Correct.
Right? And we are all playing around that thing, right? And so there's nothing really new under the sun, but it's really about, the intention, your intentions towards what you're doing. So for me, I was really I'm an overall house music producer. And at that time, I was really doing Afro house, Afro tech, we're moving,
Yeah.
And this happened in, I would say, 2020, 2021, where there's COVID times and all of those things. So we're really limited to our movements and all of that. So the only places that I would go to would be clubs where they were playing amapiano, right? So I was really like that Afro tech, Afro house guy, stubborn guy, where it's like, it's either Afro house or
Yeah.
But I started listening, I think, because I was listening, I was just aware of my background and everything that has been happening, and amapiano was happening, and you adapt. You have to adapt and really tell your story your own way, because you're really telling the story of everyone, but in your own way, right? So that's what I did. I started listening to, okay, this genre is actually beautiful. Let's not lie to ourselves, you know, because it's always been that thing. When you are doing Afro house, it's like, nah, my piano is not my thing, man. I don't like the kick. I don't, you know. But it's that whole thing where it's like you find beauty in that, right? You find beauty and you start, okay, cool, this is a nice song. Oh, actually, there's actually a favorite song from this. You know, there's actually this and this, and that's what I did. That's the process I went through, and yeah, I started just listening to the songs. I'm like, okay, what's moving people? I found what's moving people, and I wouldn't say I was like, yeah, now I'm a genius. I'm here. This is what I'm doing. Everything just happened organically.
Yeah.
Because I was listening to the ground. I was listening to, you know, the message.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, I'll get on to the message in a bit, but you've mentioned like DJ Kent was your influence, like in DJing.
Yeah.
But when it came to music production, Cuba was the one that influenced you. And do you want to maybe just speak on that, like in what way that happened, and how you like learned from that and still crafted your own sound from that influence?
Yeah. DJ Kent, mega mixes. You do mega mixes every Friday.
Friday, yeah.
And for me, that was my Spotify. You know, that was my Apple Music, where I go and look for music. So I would just listen to his sets, and I knew that everything that he plays has emotions, he has a way of telling his own story. So I was really intrigued by that. And I would just listen to his songs and open up Fruity Loops. And whenever he plays a song that I like, I'm like, I like the chords here. And then I try to, you know, replicate and do this and this and this. I did that over and over and over until I had to find like my identity through that, where I wasn't really rushing the process, but I was just doing what I love. You know, it's just about just doing what you love. And I remember the first time I heard Cuba, I was blown away. Everything that he was doing was different. And I'm like, I'm hearing a lot of stuff. I'm hearing a lot of songs, but why?
Yeah.
You know, my biggest question was, why is he doing what he's doing?
Yeah.
You know, and why is it making me feel this way? So I started really falling in love with his music and falling in love with his sound, and I did that. I just went in, I studied him hard. Like I studied what's happening, why is he doing this, why this, why this, why this? And then as soon as I found the why, I was able to now move on and just become the person that I am and try to find my identity. It wasn't easy, but yeah.
I love that. Like you were able to hear the music, but then still think in a very like high level around like the intention around the decisions that came into making the music. So it wasn't so much inspiration around like sonically what he was making or like samples. It was more, how would someone think about making something like this, and how can you tap into that? I think that's pretty powerful.
Yeah, and it's actually a bit of both. It's a bit of both.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Okay. One sec. Yeah.
Take one. So you spoke on, you know, breaking out of that box of being specific to a genre and listening to, I guess, other people around that were brushing off a genre like Amapiano and saying, no, we do this, we don't do that. What gave you the confidence? Because you could be privately in the studio and experimenting as you did, because you know all creations come from experimenting. So you went ahead, you did that, you made a track like Magnificent Dance, but what gave you the confidence internally to say, I'm actually going to step out of this box officially? You know, regardless of what my peers might say to me and question what I'm doing, or say, oh, why are you changing what we are doing and what we're building with this sound? What gave you that confidence to say, this is what I'm gonna do, and I'm actually gonna release this record instead of just keeping it to yourself? Was it somebody around you that gave you that little push, or was it just fully internal?
I would say I listened. I think I said it. I listened. Like in everything, I just listened. And whenever I'm in studio, my peers are not there. Whoever that is judging me is not there. Why should I care about that? You know. So I think immediately I came to that. I gained that confidence where it's like, I'm just doing what I love. You know, I find it cool. Why shouldn't I do it? You know, it's the why. I just really asked a lot of whys. Like, I'm like, why is it like this? Oh, okay, I'm making music and I'm making Afrotech, and the sound it's happening in SA, but it's popping that side, but I've never been there. Why? Right? I just went to that, like, why? In everything that you do, I think you need to ask yourself a lot of, like, why? Why do you feel like this? Why does this make me feel like this? Because you're trying to succumb to the industry norm, the industry standard, and all of that. Why? You don't have to. Just do your thing. I feel like I just did my thing, man. Like, there's certain things that I can explain. There's certain things that I really can't explain. But I really listened to that voice inside me, and it was really loud. Yeah.
And speaking of why, I'm really curious about your approach to sound design. So your music is typically very layered, especially your treatment of like percussions, for example, but there are a lot of elements that I feel you add to your songs that really build on like the scene that you're creating. Like your music is felt, you know, it's not just something that we dance to, like you really feel the intention behind the kind of environment you wanted to create when you make the song. So I'm curious, what is it that you do in your sound design that helps set you apart from other producers, apart from asking why and just trusting yourself? I'm gonna ask you to be a little concrete right now. Like, what is your approach in terms of making sure that your sound is not like something that we would expect from someone else?
Yeah, I think how I would answer you when it comes to that, I'll say there's no formula. There shouldn't be any formula. It's about the feeling, you know. So I just do what I feel. Is this sounding nice? Yes. Is it supposed to, normally in the industry thing or in normal song, this is supposed to stop here, but no, we're not stopping. We're going, you know?
What I'm hearing is that you have the luxury of someone who pioneered something, so you don't really feel the need to make it sound like something in order to be identifiable as the genre. For you, you just continuously charting this path and making new and new and new over and over again.
Yeah. It's just about making music, man. I don't like thinking too much when it comes to music. I think the more you start overthinking, that's when you lose the voice that is speaking to you, you know. So it's all of those things. Like even with every creatives, like creatives are crazy, you know. But I think at the same time, if they really listen to that voice, a lot of problems will be solved. Like you'd see that a lot of things that you're really going through, a lot of things that you're like, it's because you're just thinking of other things and not what you're supposed to do.
For sure, I agree.
So you've had a lot of, you know, individual releases, but you've also had a bunch of collaborations. How do you maintain your sonic identity and how you're carving your path in a room full of other extremely talented, you know, geniuses that are all giving their input? And how does that balance come to be? Because even when I hear a track like your latest release, Bittersweet, you know, you still hear your sound. So how does that happen? Does it have to be a certain level of respect for each other in the room? And how does that balance kind of come to be where you're still, it feels like a collaboration, it's sonically different, but you're still, your essence is still impacting the record?
Yeah. No, when it comes to collaborations, I think it's sometimes, you know, whenever you are in a session, I think we had a conversation with someone about this. Whenever you're in a session, and then there will always be someone who leads, you know? The one who has the first idea, the one who has the first genius, whatever. And you just need to play your role at that time where it's like, let him cook, right? You let him lead, you let him do his thing, and then you come, whatever that you're gonna put in there is something that is supposed to be there, not because it's Thakzin now, this has to be here. There's certain collaborations that okay, maybe you can tell, but there's certain collaborations that other people cannot even tell that, oh, you are in this, It's because I'm just complimenting whatever that is happening. I'm playing a role, you know. So sometimes I lead. That's when the sound is more prominent. People are able to hear that, oh, I'm hearing more of you. And then sometimes I'm just at the back. But whatever that I'm going to put in is something that will help the song, not bruise, not do something to my ego, but it's to, right? I don't know if I answered you.
For sure.
Awesome.
No, it's the egoless approach, and I think in music, or in everything. I mean, in music especially, there's a lot of ego, and I think people do overthink. I could imagine being in a collaborative environment, and then, you know, the finished product comes, and maybe you don't feel like, oh, I don't hear my sound, quote unquote, in this record. So maybe, you know, the fact that you're able to actually disconnect yourself from that and look at the bigger picture of the body of work that was just created, or the record that was just created, and separate yourself from that and listen from that perspective and say, no, this is just a great song. And you still contributed to it. It's not like you had nothing to do with it, right?
Yeah. It's about that. I think so, yeah. Just the song. Music matters more than us. Like, we like, music matters. Like, it's like, I always, even with the whole thing of, I was having a conversation with someone else about this. Oh, king of 3-step. It's beautiful. I like it. Yeah. But for me, I'm just a vessel, right? I'm just a vessel of this. I think anyone could have received the message. But yeah, I'm just a vessel of, and this is for my ego, right? This is for me to stay on the ground where I'm just doing my thing. But I do appreciate when they say, hey, king of 3-step, this and this and this. Yeah, thank you. But for me, if I am to speak to you personally, I'd say, yeah, there's no king. Music is king, right? Yeah, at the end of the day, music is king.
Shout out to that. That's amazing.
I love that.
What advice would you give to emerging artists, especially as someone who, I'd consider you a trendsetter, whether you want to hear it or not? That is, Thakzin right now is you're setting a lot of trends, and I think just even outside of Afro House, you're hearing it in a lot of different, in Gom, you're hearing it all over the place, where people are now like, okay, if the log drum works in that way in Afro House, then it might work in this genre as well. And people are taking from that, just as an example. So what advice would you give to emerging producers who are struggling to find their unique sound, especially where trends can often dictate the direction of music? Because there are, I would consider 3-step, for example, a trend at the moment, because I'm hearing a lot of new music, and especially as someone who has a label, getting a lot of music where I'm like, he or she is trying to sound like Tuxen, very obviously. So what advice would you give to artists that are emerging to stay away from trends and to carve their own path?
Weird is cool. Like, the weirdest thing, weird is cool. Like, if like, it's that whole thing where it's like, just do your thing. And it's obviously not gonna be easy. It's a tough journey. It's a very tough journey. But just do it. Remember the first time that you fell in love with it, and then always go back to that, right? There's so many challenges that are happening. There's so many things, but always go back to the first time you fell in love with it, and never forget, Because, yeah, everything has its own challenge. Like, the life takes, I think as an artist, we get to a point where we have to decide on from our stomachs and all of those things. And that's where things really start, like, I need to make this beat because, it's rough, But it's that whole thing where it's like, you need to be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself. With this thing that you're making, you're like, this sounds like Meedy and not me. It is not you, it is Meedy, right? So be honest whenever you're making music. People are able to feel whenever you're honest. They're able to feel the music. There's a lot of, when I make a song and then I hear someone say, this song made me cry, I cried first. I cried, right? Like it's those things. It's a validation of a feeling. And for me, hearing someone say, "Oh, this made me feel like this," then okay, we are definitely on the right path. So for me, I'm just making music with my own philosophy, and I hope people are gonna be able, someone else is able to do that. And as a creative, it's tempting to be someone else. It's very tempting, it's easy, because you just figure out that this person, oh, I found the sound that he used, okay, I can use that. Yeah, it's very simple. And there's so many sounds that we also found that were like, oh, this was used by who and who and who. But you really want to stand out, you really want to tweak, you really want to do this, don't stop, just keep on tweaking, keep on just, you'll find something, you're gonna find your thing. And we love your thing. Right? Yeah.
No, I love that. Thank you so much. And I'm, of course, like very curious as to what this process actually looks like when you like find your voice in making a song. So if it's possible, we'd love for you to walk us through one of your productions and you just show us like exactly what you've done and how you're building your identity as you go along.
Okay.
Yeah? Sounds good?
Guys, you want to see some? Are we gonna open up the vault? Let's do it. Let's do it. So now we're going to walk through his breakthrough record, Magnificent Dance, and he'll just give us a little taste of a few of the elements that were used that separated himself from the pact. I think it's important, not necessarily from a overly, let's say, technical perspective, but just some of the unique elements that make Thakzin's production his. And shout out to our FL Studio family for supporting this as well. We have we actually just collaborated on a plugin giveaway. So if you go on our Instagram at descendants.rec, you'll also see a plugin giveaway that we're collaborating with our FL Studio family in the front. Make some noise for FL Studio. Yo, FL Studio to a lot of us is the culture. It's such an important part of, it was an important part of my childhood, discovering music production from FL Studio 2. Yes, it was that, I got some age on me, but just seeing how many users, how many people within this space use FL Studio, because I remember being in the more mainstream electronic space where I was using FL Studio and everyone was using Ableton and everyone looked at me funny. Everyone was like, oh, you got, but to be in a space where I'm hearing some of the most incredible music being created on this is the GOAT DAW. So FL Studio, much love to you guys. Tuxen, yeah, take it from here. Show us a little taste of what makes your project so unique.
Okay, I'll try. There's certain things that you can't really explain, right? Because I can't really explain, because I feel like whenever I'm in that process, it's part me, part not me, But I'll try and explain some things. So, for an example, with Magnificent Dance, what I was really trying to do, the first thing, it was like I'm trying to create an African project, an African project where it's like, it's a lot of rhythm, it's a lot of movement when it comes to the drums. So I needed to know where to start. So I kind of went to, I would say, for an example, I actually went to YouTube, and I wanted to find some pegs. So I found something that I could start with, of which it was sounding really like this. Right? So I just found something doing this. Sounds African enough. Like, this is it, right? And then I had to tweak, and try and make it sound more like how I would want it to be. So So I did this. So now with the kick, because you don't want, there's so much happening right now. So it needs some space. If it's gonna be like, go, 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 go. It's nice, but there's some other things, man. Where are you putting the other stuff? So, you know? And I'm like, okay, there's some space there. Let's get something moving. Let's try and. Right? So, if the kick went all the way, I don't think all of this was going to be able to fit, right? So, I think by that time I had already figured out the drums to it, how it's gonna go, and the feeling. I wanted the rawness of it, and then now I needed to find the melody. So sometimes you just get in the space. I just get in the space, and then I just wanna play anything random, and then hoping that I'll strike gold. And then I did that, and this is what I came up with, actually. So it's sounding like this. Right, oh, wait. Kind of filtered it, put in some things. So, right. But I needed to support it with something. I needed it to be supported with something. So, I had. Okay, wait. Right. So it's the same thing. It's the same pattern. It's just copied, duplicated. So I had to put in another sound, and this is the other sound. Right. Tweak, 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 tweak.
The sauce.
That's how it originally sounds.
That's the sauce.
Right. And then, right, as the song goes, that was not enough. I think it was now rough enough. It was, Africa, right? So, so now I needed something that will connect me with the soul. You know, I needed something that could, chord progression usually really speaks to you as a person where you're like, now it's getting emotional, now I feel like crying. You know, so I needed something that is going to create that effect. Then I had the piano pad, which I used, and it sounds like this. So now it kind of feels like, okay. Okay, we're getting somewhere, right? And I'm like, okay, we're getting somewhere. And I needed, obviously, a bass line. I needed something that is going to move people. And remember, it's me doing my studying, listening to people make music. I found a bass line. I'm like, this bass line sounds cool. It's invoking something, and it's an piano bass line. And whenever it hits, like, you can feel that something is coming in, right? Like, it's very in there. So even with the arrangement, you can just have everything. Okay, wait. I'll play with the bass line first. Wait. Bass line, show yourself. You should be somewhere here. Cool. So I had the bass line. Oh, wait. Not the bass line. Oof. Okay. Right? So you're giving it some space because there's so many things happening. Right? So you can't really play everything, laying it down and all of that. You need to give things space. So that's what I did. And actually, everything sounds more or less like this. Like something is happening. Cool. And then I'm like, I need, obviously, the bass line, but there's a certain way it needs to hit, you know? And that's where the normal way is different. So I had to... Okay, we got something. Right. Okay, but we need something that is gonna be like, shock them a little bit, so... All right. Man, cool, that sounds cool. I feel like it's creating something, it's creating a moment. But obviously I needed something that is really gonna move everything forward, where it's like, now we're moving, right? So with the bass line, same thing. Now it's the shakers. Right? So I'm like, okay, we have something moving. We really have something moving. But now I needed something that is gonna make the whole thing different, make it sound different, make it sound like, invoke a certain feeling where it's like, okay, I thought this is where we're going, but actually there's this other way also. So I found a sound that would help me do that actually, and this is the sound. Cool. Right? Cool, right? So I found that, and it kind of felt like, okay, there's something happening, right? And it's moving. And now we had to go back to the whole thing, man, where... So whenever you're arranging a song and you're putting things, you're expecting that if there's like a bridge or something, when it gets back, it's gonna hit, right? You're expecting that it's really gonna go hard. So I was like, maybe not do that, maybe tease it a little bit. Instead of bringing everything back, I can just... So there's so many things that are happening here. But I think it's about making space for everything, right? It's about complementing each and every sound. Just like a collaboration, whenever you're working on a collaboration, if you feel like you are not leading, let someone lead. then you can come on and be like, I'm a shaker in this, you know, I'm gonna be the bass line in this, I'm gonna be this and this, but you just play your role. So I had to make sure that almost all of these sounds are communicating together as much as like, it's like a lot of sounds, like there's a lot happening here, right? But all of this, they're communicating with one language. And I feel like with music, that's what you need. You just need to communicate like that, where you just find the normal way of communicating with people, communicating with the sounds and everything. So, yeah, if I speak and try to explain this, I know I'm probably not doing justice, but like I said, it was half me, half something else, right? So, this is it. Thank you.
Wow. Can we make some noise for the one and only Thakzin? Make some noise. Yo, thank you so much for Professor, for real. Wow. Professor
Be nice.
Yo, you're incredible, bro. Thank you so much for sharing all those gems. Wow. Anybody have I could take one or two questions? What? That's a demand. It's not a question. Maybe can you play the song, please? Question? I saw some hands in the back. Everybody, that's the only question, so I don't think there's a choice. Let's go.
Oh yeah, am I playing the whole thing? What's happening? Are we?
Off.
Okay. Oh,
Hey. Oh, shit. Hey.
I heard that. Yeah. Shout out to the engineer also, because, yeah, he really put it out there. Sase, yeah, salute.
Wow, thank you so much. Make some noise one more time for Tuxen. Yo, we're gonna have a little over 2 hours of music from the likes of Tandi Dry. She's about to pull up on us and give us some tunes. And we got a few other special guests as well. Stick around, get to meet one another, get to know each other. Let's build, share information, share each other's contacts, stay in touch, Instagrams, all that. That's why we're here. We're here to do that. We're here to grow as a community. And that's all I have. Wow. Let's have some fun. Let's have a good time. Let's end ADE on the right note. Thank you to everyone that spoke earlier. Wow, incredible, incredible. Thank you so much.